Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I had to put on my reaching hat. Hear me out.
Two young children vanish without a trace. Hours later, their mother also goes missing.
Police say Catherine Hoggle got on a ride-on bus Tuesday night near the Chick-fil-A in Germantown, where she was last seen. She rode the bus to the transit center at the Lake Forest Mall in Gaithersburg and then got off. There have been no reported sightings of 3-year-old Sarah or 2-year-old Jacob.
This bizarre security video. Days of searching lead to a strange development. Their mother is found, but the mysteries surrounding her odd behavior and her missing children have only deepened.
It's heart-wrenching. Some parents are missing one child and you're missing two.
Yeah.
Hi, and thank you for clicking. Today I want to talk about a case that was brought to my attention by a subscriber. Her name is Lady Hawk. And hi Lady Hawk, thank you so much for suggesting this. I looked into the case and I actually found some striking similarities between this case and Lori Vallow, particularly in how the mothers acted and what they said happened after their kids went missing. Before I begin, you guys know I have to give my thanks to my returning subscribers, old and new. Thank you guys so much, especially your support on my live that I did with Linda from It's a Crime. It was so cool to see the comments from usernames that I recognized back from when I had like barely any subscribers. I'm getting a little verklempt. If you are new here, hi, this is me. I wear a tinfoil hat and I talk about true crime and conspiracies, especially both cases where it's both. And this is definitely that. So let's dive in. This story starts 6 years ago on September 7th, 2014. It was a Sunday and things were actually going pretty good that day. Troy and his girlfriend who lived with him, she kind of was his common law wife, Catherine, they went to their son's soccer game and they had 3 kids together. And they went to the soccer game, they had fun, and then they went to a park afterwards and they all hung out. And Troy, the father, he actually works at night. So he stayed at the park with the kids until he had to go to work. And then after that, Catherine and her father went with the kids. Okay. Around that time is when Randy Hoggle, Catherine's father, took Catherine and the kids to her mother's house. And when they got there, her mother wasn't there. Now, Randy and Lindsay, Catherine's parents, were divorced. But Randy decided to stay in the house with Catherine and the kids until Lindsay got home. The reason for this is that Catherine could not be alone with the kids. She also couldn't drive, and we'll be getting into that a little bit later. But for now, you just need to know that. At this point, Catherine is home with her father and the kids. She tells her dad at around 4 p.m. that she has a coupon, or is it a coupon? Either way, I say coupon. She had a coupon for a pizza, and she wanted to go get this pizza. And she wanted to take Jacob with her. Now, supposedly Jacob was clinging on Catherine's leg and the father sort of relented, even though Catherine was not supposed to drive and not supposed to be alone with the kids, but yet her father allowed her to do both. So she left. 2 hours later, Catherine comes back home without the pizza and without Jacob. She tells her father that Jacob was at a sleepover with his older brother's friend. Later on in the evening, they decide to go back to the apartment that Catherine lives at with Troy and the kids. So the father takes them back to the apartment. It's late, so he spends the night there too, and Troy gets back home at around midnight, which is his normal schedule. So he gets home, he's tired, and he notices that Jacob is not in the bed that he usually is in, but he says that this doesn't really raise any alarm bells because little Jacob tends to leave his little bed and go and sleep in the bed with his siblings. So he was tired. He kind of was like, okay, maybe Jacob got up and is with you know, his siblings. He didn't really want to wake them up because then he would be up and everybody would be up. He was tired. So he just assumed that Jacob was there. He didn't check and he went to sleep.
Normally, I would have kissed them all goodnight. I was just tired, and selfishly in my mind, I was thinking if I wake one of them up, then I'm up. So I just went ahead and went to sleep.
So you didn't check the rooms because it was just a long day.
Right, and I had no reason to think there would be anything, you know.
The next morning, Randy, who's the father, Catherine's father, he left early. And then later on in the morning, the oldest son wakes up Troy. And he's excited to go to school, and so Troy wakes up, and as Troy is walking through the house, he realizes that nobody else is there, which is not supposed to be the case. Then he goes in a drawer, he looks, and he notices that the keys to the family minivan are gone, and his wallet is gone, Catherine is gone, and the two younger kids are not there. So he tries to reach her, he can't, and he kind of freaks out. So he decides, okay, I'm gonna take my oldest son to the bus stop to drop him off at school, and then right then and there at the bus stop, after he, you know, waves goodbye to his oldest son, he calls 911. As he's on the phone with 911, who shows up but Catherine? She pulls up alone, and she basically tells him while he's on the phone, oh, I didn't want to wake you up because you came home late, but I ended up dropping off the two little kids at a daycare. And, you know, it's all a misunderstanding. They're fine, you know, whatever. So Troy on the phone with 911 goes like, oh, she's here, like false alarm, misunderstanding, never mind, hangs up the phone. Troy was upset at the fact that, first of all, you know, they had an arrangement where she wasn't allowed to be alone with the kids and drive, but at the same time, she had told him that, you know, they were talking about possibly putting the kids in daycare. And so when she said that she had put them in daycare for a trial run, it seemed believable to Troy at the time. So he was like, okay, even though he was upset and it was kind of weird, he was like, okay, makes sense. So then she had like a treatment center appointment that she had to go to. So Troy takes her to her appointment, drops her off, picks her up. When he picks her up, it's 2 p.m. So he tells her, okay, we need to go and pick up the little kids from the daycare. This is where it gets weird. So then Catherine says, oh, I don't remember the name of the daycare or the street of the daycare. Or I don't have the phone number for the daycare either. So Troy's like, you mean to tell me you dropped our kids off at a place and you don't know the name of it, you don't know what street it is, you don't even have a phone number for it? And she goes, they have my information, but if we get to the area, and she said that this daycare was in Germantown, Maryland. This all takes place in Montgomery County, Maryland. She tells him, you know what, if we get near the area, like I can kind of figure it out. So he's like, okay. So they get in the car and they're already in the car. So they start heading over towards Germantown to look for the daycare. Troy says that the more they drove around, the closer they get to Germantown, the more evasive and vague Catherine is being. Troy's fed up and he's like, you know what? We need to go to the police station. We need to contact the police, like something's wrong. So then Catherine says, okay, but I had just taken my medication, which the side effect of her medication makes her sleepy. And so she's like, you know what? Let's stop at this Chick-fil-A. They were near a Chick-fil-A. Let's stop here. I'll get a sugary caffeinated drink and, you know, I'll wake up and then I'll be able to help you like find the daycare better. So Troy agrees. They go to the Chick-fil-A. And then I think in the beginning he says they go together and then like they're about to leave. And then Catherine's like, oh, I need a refill. And so he waits in the car while she gets the refill. Now at this point, this is on surveillance camera. When you look at this footage, you can see there's no audio, but you see her and she seems calm, but she is sort of looking over her shoulder a lot. And then we do find out later that she gets on her phone and she makes some phone calls, which we'll talk about exactly what those were. And long story short, she decides to walk out of the Chick-fil-A from a side entrance, and she basically vanishes. So Troy is waiting for her. He realizes after a while that she's not there, and he immediately freaks out and goes straight to the police station. He gets to the police station and he tells them that his wife and his 2 younger children are missing, and they're missing under suspicious circumstances. A search ensues and everybody is now looking. It's all over the media. They're looking for this mother and her 2 missing kids. A few days into the search, there seems to be somewhat of a break. Police come out and they announce, we found more surveillance footage of her. This time it's from September 9th. It's 4:30 in the morning. It's actually really close to where the Chick-fil-A is, and she's in like a federal building, and again she's acting weird. What you see is, you'll see Catherine walking around in like a weirdly calm way, and then she goes back and forth a few times, and there's like double doors. There's like 2 sets of double doors, and she kind of gets stuck in between them seemingly, where she looks like she's trying to get out but she can't, and then she's like really trying, and then she kind of leaves the inner set of doors open with her purse. She walks around some more, and then when she comes back, she's able to like open the door, takes her purse and leaves. And that's all you see on the surveillance footage. What is very disturbing is what you don't see, and that is her children. She does not have her children. Once the police release this surveillance footage, well, it looks even more suspicious for Catherine. And now they start working on an arrest warrant because it looks really bad for Catherine, right? Why are you hiding and on the run seemingly? You know, you won't answer where the kids are. You have all these weird stories that don't make sense, and now you're gone and the kids aren't with you. What is going on? So then an arrest warrant is issued for Catherine, and I would like to read you part of the arrest warrant because it is very telling. You can pause it to read everything, but I just want to read you like certain parts, right? A lot of this I've already mentioned to you. I do want to go all the way to the bottom, the last paragraph. On September 8th, 2014, at approximately 1800 hours, Troy Turner told Catherine Hoggle the police needed to be involved to assist in locating Jacob and Sarah. As they drove to the 5th District Police Station, Catherine requested to stop at the nearby Chick-fil-A restaurant. While at the restaurant, Catherine Hoggle exchanged text messages with her mother. During these text messages, a family member advised that they were talking to the police about the disappearance of Jacob and Sarah Hoggle. Catherine Hoggle responded via text that she was with her children and everything was fine. Video surveillance from the Chick-fil-A shows this to be false. Catherine Hoggle then abruptly left the Chick-fil-A, evading Troy Turner. Next page. The investigation has revealed the following facts. Jacob Hoggle did not have a prearranged playdate or impromptu sleepover at a playmate's residence on September 7th, 2014. In fact, this playmate's family has not seen Jacob in over 3 weeks. Jacob has not been seen by any caregiver or family member, to include his now missing mother, since approximately 1900 hours on September 7th, 2014. Additionally, no daycare has reported Sarah and or Jacob being dropped off on September 8, 2014. There has been extensive media coverage of this case over the last 24 hours, and no individuals have come forward to advise they have seen Jacob and or Sarah. The only confirmed sighting of Catherine Hoggle since the evening of September 7th was video surveillance from a facility in the area of the Chick-fil-A. This facility is not an institution Catherine Hoggle has authority to enter and has no justifiable reason for being there. The contents of Catherine Hoggle's purse were located within the facility, which includes payment methods. There are no other adults or children with Catherine in the video surveillance, which is 36 hours after the second child went missing. Investigators cannot identify any means that Catherine has to care for, feed, or provide shelter to the children. Investigators can say Catherine Hoggle and no other responsible family member or licensed caregiver has had contact with the children for at least 36 hours. And then it says, blah, blah, blah. You can read the rest. So after the arrest warrant was issued, Catherine's father, Randy, remember the one who allowed her to go? Yeah, he was, poor guy, going through it. I'm sure he was like so beating himself up about it. He publicly begged Catherine to come home to get help.
Good morning. I'd be remiss if I didn't start, ladies and gentlemen, by thanking Montgomery County Police Department. They have worked tirelessly. There are so many people trying to help, and we just appreciate that tremendously. I don't usually cry, so I apologize. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could, I really am saying this for my daughter, and this is a plea to my daughter to come home and have help. Many people deal with mental illness. Many families deal with mental illness. It's always a judgment about medication and the delicate balance of medication being taken. We know she's probably not been on medication for 2 weeks, and thus we know, Catherine, this is not you, and this is not who you're about and what you do. You were the first of 4 kids to give me a chance to be soccer coach. Probably was never good at it, but certainly did my best. You and Troy have given me a chance to have Clint on the soccer team. Next week we're going to work on him going toward the right goal. But we want Sarah and Jacob to have those same kind of opportunities. The first kiss, the first homecoming, the last prom, and a full life. And we want you to do that as well. Everyone here is committed to, if you just come and get help, we'll all help you. And for that, I just want to say, please come home. We miss you, and we miss the kids.
All right, so speaking of her getting help and the mental illness and everything like that, let's talk about why Catherine was even in the position where she couldn't have the kids and she, couldn't drive. What happened, okay? So this actually goes way back to when she was in middle school. Even though Catherine was very, very bright, she had a hard time completing her classwork. And she ended up getting diagnosed with a learning disability. They said that she had, quote, problems with her executive functions, things like planning and organization. Then, as time went on, doctors also expressed concern with her moods, and they said that she might possibly have bipolar disorder. And that diagnosis would later change to paranoid schizophrenia. So after high school, Catherine enrolled in a community college, and then in around 2007, she started waiting tables. And it was at this job that she would meet Troy, who would then become the father of her children and who she lived with, although they never did get married. Troy was the bouncer in the place that Catherine was the waitress, just for context. A year after they met in 2008 is when Catherine gives birth to their first oldest son. And by all accounts, Catherine seemed to be a good mother, very attentive. There's even this anecdote that her mother tells about how, when she would babysit, Catherine would have index cards with information like how to mix the formula, when to feed him, a reminder to keep pillows out of the crib, things that, a caring, attentive mother would do. And so everything seemed fine until Troy began to notice some troubling behaviors, and it all stemmed from Catherine's paranoia. She started to imagine that there were people out there who were trying to break up her family, try to ruin her relationship with Troy. Because she had just given birth, and this kind of started happening after she gave birth, Troy thought it was postpartum depression. Keep in mind, he has no idea of her history of mental illness. He was kind of upset about it after the fact when everything kind of went crazy. But, I don't know, that's kind of a touchy subject. He kind of feels like he wishes the parents told him about it after she had the kid. But then again, I can kind of understand the parents not wanting to, I don't know, it's a touchy situation. But the fact remains, he did not know that she had this history of mental illness. He thought it was postpartum depression. Things seemed to be getting better for a while. She had 2 more kids, the kids that would end up being missing. And then things seemed to go bad again. So in 2013, Catherine became convinced that Troy's sister was essentially stalking them, breaking into their house, stealing from them, and she believed this to a point where she actually filed a motion in court asking for a restraining order from Troy's sister. This is what she told the judge, quote, "We go to the grocery store, she shows up there. We start going to a different grocery store. She starts showing up there. I go to take my kids to the pediatrician. She shows up there. I go to my mom's house. She shows up there. The judge ended up declining to issue the restraining order. And then the theft that she claimed was sent to, I think it was the state attorney, and he declined to press charges. So it seems as though these were unfounded claims and beliefs that she was having. The paranoia continued to worsen. There was an incident that Troy talks about.
He began to notice strange behavior.
There was that I was running around, which I wasn't too. There was a woman following us who wanted to raise the kids with me and take her life. And then it became things like she would have me pull over and cover her mouth while she was talking to me.
He said that she was like, thought that the car was bugged and was looking for the bug in the car, like, you know, a listening device. Troy was trying to like make light of it somewhat by telling her, oh, no one's following us. We're too boring. Nobody cares about us. But she was convinced. She couldn't tell her otherwise. Her family felt like they had to intervene. So they end up having her, you know, evaluated and sort of like forcibly put into a mental institution. And this happened a few times. And one of the times she actually tried to escape by taking another patient's like shoes and trying to run away. And I think she managed to escape. And then it got even worse. So like by the time it's the end of 2013, Catherine now believes that someone is trying to perform an exorcism on her, and they're trying to cut off her limbs. And she's convinced of this. And so again, they get her institutionalized. They put her at this major institution, and they start trying to figure out what they're gonna do. How are they gonna integrate her back into their lives? And so they decide, okay, they're gonna put her in this institution, and then she sort of transitioned into a group home, and then she transitioned into having like a few more privileges with the kids. And then Troy tells her like, listen, if you get your act together, you can come stay with us again, you can live with the kids, like, you know. And so she seems to get better. She gets back into the house. She's now living with them, and they decide as a family, like Troy and her parents, they all decide like, okay, we need to get a system in place, a plan. And they come to this conclusion of like, she cannot drive and she can't be alone with the kids. There always needs to be another adult, one of them, around when Catherine's with the kids. And that's how we get to the situation that I told you guys about in the beginning, where these rules were in place. This is why. So now she's back in, she's on new medication, and her father seems to think that she's doing well. She seems to be that attentive, caring mother that she was back when she was doing the index cards. And her father says that, you know, she wouldn't just open up the books and read to the kids. She'd ask them, you know, why is this funny? What does this mean? Very engaging, right? Then, unfortunately, soon after that, he starts to see things going backwards. And it appears to be due to her medication. He says that, you know, the medication made her tired and disassociated, and instead of her, you know, opening the books and reading to the kids and asking them questions, now she would just open the book and stare off, and the kids would kind of have to read the book for themselves, and she wasn't really interacting with them. You know, it was discouraging for them, but they realized, okay, we really need to make sure that we're supervising and that, you know, she has some additional support when she's with the children. This was obviously a lot of work for the family and the extended family as well. So it was around this time that the kids went missing that Catherine and Troy were talking about possibly putting the kids in daycare, or maybe even hiring a nanny or something, to where the burden wasn't so much on the family. This brings us all the way back to when Catherine is telling him, you know, I took the kids and I put them in a daycare for a trial run, because obviously they were talking about this. Okay, so now we're back to when Catherine is missing and the warrant is out for her arrest, and her father is begging her to come back and get help. Okay, are you still with me? I know I kind of went all around, but I'm trying to make the story flow in a way that makes sense. Okay, so somebody recognizes Catherine, and they call police. She was in the Germantown area. She wasn't even that far away from where she was last seen and where she was seen on the surveillance camera. Like, she's still in that area. So they call the police. They tell them, police come up. They find her. When they find her, they say that she looked disheveled and that she had cut her hair. She appeared to be attempting to alter her appearance. Remember that, please. It has now been 4 days since she went missing. In addition to her looking disheveled, she's wearing the same clothes that she was wearing when she went missing. And the police actually said that when they saw her and called out to her and she realized that it was the police, there was a brief chase, according to them. But then she was apprehended and they took her in for questioning. They questioned her for 15 hours. And during those 15 hours, her story changed a few times. So her first story was that the kids were fine. They were with her friend called Erin. The police then asked her, you know, what's Erin's address? What's her phone number? And much like with the daycare, she couldn't give them an answer. But she said, if you give me my phone, because they had taken her phone, if you give me my phone, like, that's where the information is. So the police gave her her phone, and they say that instead of giving them information on Erin, she started deleting stuff off of her phone. Crazy like a fox. My conspiracy, allegedly, don't sue me. Keep in mind that the police said that during their interrogation or interview, whatever you want to call it, that she was lucid and she seemed totally normal to them. Once that story fell through, she changed her story again. She said that, you know what, she actually took them to a park and abandoned them at the park. So they then went on this crazy search. They searched like 13,000 acres around the surrounding areas. They didn't find anything. After this questioning, 15 hours, they couldn't get anywhere with her. They couldn't find anything about the kids. Eventually, she gets arrested and charged with a misdemeanor. A few misdemeanors. I think it was parental abduction, child neglect, and hindering a police investigation. She then gets committed to the Clifton T. Perkins Hospital Center, which I'm going to be calling Perkins, just plain Perkins. And it's a maximum security psychiatric hospital in Jessup, Maryland. So while she's at Perkins and the kids are missing and everybody's looking for them, she gets these calls from her mother, from her father, from Troy, from her aunt, so many people. And they're all asking her the same question. Where are the kids? In one conversation, she tells her dad, they're fine, Dad. I promise you they're alive. He then asks her to be more specific. She says, I can't talk about that where I am. She always makes it seem, just like Lori Vallow, like people are listening. I can't tell you. Then in a conversation with her mother, she says that she wants to help and she actually wants to guide police to where the children are. Once the prosecution finds out about this, they decide to quickly have this hearing, and they want to ask the judge to be able to take Catherine out of this facility for a few hours with police so that she can show police where the kids are. And her lawyer argues against it. He's like, no, she had a change of heart. She doesn't want to talk to them anymore. She's traumatized. She's got all these issues. And the judge agrees and does not allow Catherine to be taken out of the institution to show police where the kids are. I don't know how I feel about that, but that's what happened. One of the things that Troy latched onto is the fact that the police said that there was dirt under Catherine's nails when they found her. And there were other things that indicated that she may have been in the woods. So based off of this information, Troy then started a search in the more wooded areas surrounding the areas where they think the kids could be. Unfortunately, they came up empty-handed. And then there were also issues with surveillance.
Pretty sure that Jacob was brought to my apartment before they actually disappeared. I have several reasons to believe that. And so it would appear to me both kids went missing from Clarksburg. Now, granted, Jacob was last seen with her at her mom's, but I have things that show me that they came to my house and then from there left. He changed clothes. His shoes that he was wearing that day are at my house. You know, like a few days later, I'm sitting there and we're going over how there's 2 points of missing and stuff. And I'm looking at my pictures on my phone from the day that we were playing at the park. And I noticed what shoes he's wearing. I look down and his shoes are sitting right beside me. So, pretty sure they came back to my place and then disappeared from Clarksburg, essentially. So that would actually be a pretty good meeting spot to do something like that, to get right on 355, head up, down, wherever you're going. And it was set up to where the police, all they had to do was call up there and go watch the video, because the whole parking lot's on video. I went up there and talked to people up there, got it set up, and they never followed up on it. I mean, there's things that just weren't followed up on that should be. It should have been, and I don't even know if it can be at this point where a year later, I don't know how long the data is kept, stuff like that.
In another thing that reminds me of the Lori Vallow case, and if you don't know that case, I'm sorry, I talk about it a lot on my channel if you're watching me for the first time, but her mother goes out and speaks.
What do you think happened to Sarah and Jacob?
I think that I want to believe that what she says is that she entrusted them and that they're safe with someone, that's what happened. I believe they're out there. I believe they're with someone.
Which kind of reminds me of Janice, remember when she did that interview with Summer, Lori's mom and sister, and they're like, no, the kids are okay, the kids are okay. Of course, I mean, you're not going to expect that your sister or daughter is capable of something horrific, right? So, I mean, I understand that. While Lindsay is, you know, telling the public that, she's also like putting the pressure on her daughter privately. She's calling her daughter and she's telling her, like, as a mother, I'm asking you as a mother, like, where are the kids? Again, Catherine sidesteps the question, unfazed as usual, just completely talking in circles, giving the same old answers. No, nothing. Police are building murder charges at this point. So it's been a few months since Catherine has been arrested. Her lawyer files a motion stating that the doctors at Perkins have declared Catherine to be incompetent to stand trial. Her lawyer then goes on to say that, you know, she didn't eat for weeks when she got there. She lost 16 pounds. They had to put her on this crazy medication, that the police were going in there and talking to her when they knew she had an attorney, and that she was incompetent to stand trial, like they shouldn't have spoken to her, that messed with her. Basically, now, you know, Catherine is becoming the victim, and she's now not even, maybe even liable for any of this because she's incompetent to stand trial. The judge accepted this decision, you know, because they respect the doctors at Perkins, and if that's what the doctors are saying, you know, the judge is going to go along with it. But there's still room for, you know, appeals and counter things, and they're trying to see if she starts to improve and become competent, and this sets off a chain of hearing after hearing after hearing, trying to see if she's competent, and all the time, every single time, no, she's incompetent, she can't stand trial. But the problem is that her family, the people who know her, are like, what? No, she is competent. I mean, yes, she has mental illness, but not to the point where she doesn't even know right from wrong, or she can't understand what's going on in a courtroom. It's not that bad. Or is it? Troy spoke to media.
Oh, that was a complete act today. She sounded nothing like that on any of our phone conversations, on any other conversations I've heard. That was an act. Either that was an act, or they medicated her right before they came here.
You believe she's playing the system?
I don't just believe it, she's told me so much as that. She has explained to me her entire process.
Searches are still going on, and nothing is progressing. Nothing is happening, right? Like, there's no progress in the court, right? It's constantly like, no, she's still incompetent, she's still incompetent. They're not finding anything in these searches. So it's like a standstill. It was around this time that Catherine's mother has a change of heart.
I think the point that Troy made that's most important here is that Catherine is afraid of being charged further and going back to jail. She's now finally realizing that She does have a mental illness. She feels safe at Perkins. She wants to stay at Perkins. 2 months ago, when she was here, she was wanting to be competent. That has taken a nosedive since 2 months ago. She's afraid of being sent to jail, and she's very capable of being competent sooner rather than later. She understands the situation. The problem is she doesn't want to go to jail. It's as simple as that. She made a conscious decision after the last hearing for fear that she would be sent to jail. And somewhere along the line, that's got to be made clear to her what the charges are going to be, if they are, and somewhere along the line, make a change in the law where it keeps her at Perkins, which is where she belongs. That's where she needs to stay.
And then after that, Troy, Catherine's mom, Lindsay, and then Catherine's aunt have these signed affidavits that they submit to the court, basically telling the court that Catherine is competent to stand trial and that this is all an act, and that they are determining this based off of their interactions with her. So I just want to read you a little bit of what each one of them said. So this is what Troy said. Catherine has told me that she wants to be a patient. She takes Zumba and does yoga at Perkins. She does not want to be a prisoner, and that if she sticks to this path, someday she will be released and will be able to live with her mom. She told me she even took a class on competency while at Perkins to figure out what she has to do. She says she feels safe at Perkins's. She says she feels safe at Perkins because it is protecting her from jail.
Do you believe she has the answers? And regardless of what the doctors have found, competency-wise, could she resolve all of it?
She knows exactly what she did, period. She planned it, she did it, she knows what she did. I spoke to her enough whenever, for a long time trying to get information out of her. She would even tell me what she could or can't talk about. She was confident enough to talk to people and call the state police and try to set me up to make it look like I was trying to threaten her and have them sitting there listening on speakerphone. So, I mean, she knows exactly what she did.
And she could solve it?
Easily. There's nothing to solve. Like I said, it's not a mystery. We know what happened. It's just where'd she put them. Facially and the way that she was looking at me, and even at times moving her mouth whenever I was speaking about what she's done, she was reacting as someone who seemed pretty confident and understood everything. I don't know if anyone else in here who was in the courtroom noticed or looked at her whenever I was talking, but she was 100% reacting to everything I said. I mean, there's things that have come out, like the doctor who's deeming her competent or incompetent really has barely seen her, hasn't spent, I don't believe, more than a total of 2.5 hours with her in a year and a half. And it's not to say that you can't do an evaluation and figure that out, but if all you're going off of really is what the treatment team is telling you, the treatment team, they're not there for an evaluation, and there's a reason for that, because they have a certain agenda that they have to attempt to treat her, and it's kind of hard to keep yourself separate while doing that. So she's pretty much, it sounds to me like she's banking on remaining incompetent. She has her plan. Her plan is to stay there, stay out of jail, and she would like to, she even told me how long she has until they have to release her, for being incompetent, which I had never heard that, the time frame until I heard it from her attorney, which further tells me what she told me before is true, that he's advising her to remain incompetent. I mean, he's telling her exactly how long it is. And the fact that she can count down those days, as well as explain to me her sentencing, including time served, how long she would have to stay if she has the 2 neglect charges at 10 years, if those stick. She's explained not just to myself, but even in court to the judge, that she understands everyone's roles. And with everything that she said, she's clearly capable of helping her attorney with her defense. So I don't understand where the incompetency line is drawn for this.
And now this is what her mother, Lindsay, had to say. Based on my lifetime exposure to Catherine and my current regular contact with her, I am absolutely confident that she is fully competent. Catherine understands precisely what is going on in her case, and she's trying to work the system to her advantage. Catherine is extremely intelligent, but also an extremely manipulative young woman. She has an IQ of 135. Even through her adult years, she has been an expert at what I call splitting, playing her siblings and others against one another by telling them each something different to get each to work for what she wants and to build animosity. So then Catherine's aunt, Lee Blevins, she actually was the only family member who visited Catherine like in person at the facility at Perkins, including a span of daily visits over an 11-day period. So that's like she's had a lot of interaction with her while she was at the facility. And she said, quote, that Catherine is choosing to be portrayed as incompetent. Choosing to be portrayed. All three statements were included in court documents, as well as a motion from prosecutors who are asking the court to grant a request for an independent psychiatric evaluation from somebody who is not at Perkins. The prosecutor said, quote, Hoggle has used her finding of incompetency as a sword rather than a shield. As for the doctors at Perkins, this is what they have to say. I'll read you some quotes. They say that Catherine is irrational, bizarre, and withdrawn. One psychiatrist said, on the unit, she is isolative and guarded and spends most of her time intently observing her surroundings while sitting in the day room, which honestly seems to me like she's just like thinking and observing and plotting and scheming. My conspiracy, allegedly don't sue me. They also said she has a poor understanding of most legal concepts, including the purpose of a trial, the roles of courtroom personnel, her plea options, and the role of evidence. Also, they said that Catherine had assaulted 2 patients without provocation at the facility. They also say that she was trying to escape, just like she had tried to escape way back in 2013. Remember I told you she was doing it again. They found her looping sheets together because she was trying to like scale an outside fence to escape. They said that she had tried to escape at least 8 times, that she would suddenly like reach for a doctor's, you know, like the pass that they have to like enter. She would try to reach for that and run, and other times she would just be sitting there and she would just like run out of nowhere towards like the exit. They said that a few times she managed to like bypass the first barrier that they had, and then they would have to catch her.
Whenever I had her committed back in December of 2013, she tried to escape several times back then as well. So I mean, it's something that I expected. That's what I believe. There's someone told me that in the court documents, I guess someone from Perkins said that it had something to do with her wanting to see her kids was the escapes, and that's something that would be more surprising to me than anything, simply because in the times I've talked to her, she may have asked about our oldest son maybe 3 times maximum, and every time I've talked to her. And you know, I'm not, like I said before, I'm not going to badmouth her simply because it doesn't do anyone any good. Like if my kids see this, no matter what she's done or hasn't done, it doesn't help them to see their father badmouth their mother. So I'm not going to say anything about her as a mother in those terms.
As for her behaviors, she would fake fainting. So she would, okay, I shouldn't laugh, but they said that she would like slide to the ground and not get up, but everybody could tell that she was totally conscious. She's not unconscious, but she would like pretend like she was fainting. They also said that she laughed a lot at inappropriate times where it didn't make sense. And so they put her on this like, you know, major medication. I think it was called, it was an antipsychotic, and they would forcibly give it to her. It's a lot. They also said that she had not improved and that she uses bizarre hold on, I don't know how to say this word. Hold on. Circuitous, which means of a route or journey longer than the most direct way. Circuitous. Okay, so they said, quote, she uses bizarre circuitous reasoning in conversation and regularly contradicts herself.
Catherine Hoggle has been considered mentally unstable to stand trial, but now prosecutors are hoping a new medication she's on will improve her condition.
Well, that's why the Montgomery County State's Attorney's Office wanted a delay in her competency trial.
Well, there's like a time issue, okay? And the issue is that there's a law. If you are deemed incompetent to stand trial and you're being held at a mental facility for a misdemeanor, they cannot hold you there for more than 3 years. If it's a felony, they can't hold you there for more than 5 years. So as they were coming up on the deadline of the 3-year mark, the prosecution upped the charges. I'm like doing hand signals. The prosecution upped the charges, and they charged her with like murder, so it was now a felony. So now she had to stay 5 years before she could be released for being incompetent to stand trial. If she is deemed incompetent to stand trial and the time runs out, what happens is it now becomes a civil commitment, which means that Perkins and the doctors there, it's up to their discretion whether she remains in the hospital or is released to the public. And if she is released, she's a free woman, released to go back into society and do whatever she wants.
The statute that we're dealing with here, if the charges are dismissed, the state has the right, without prejudice, to recharge her again. Even the criminal charges could come back again if her mental state improved. And we were to find out 6 months, 9 months, 10 months, 2 years from now that she had made some progress, became competent, we're allowed to legally bring the charges back.
5 years after the initial filing that that Catherine's defense attorney made, saying that she was, that they had reported she's incompetent to stand trial, 5 years after that, he files to have the charges dismissed. And he was like, basically, the clock has run out. It's been 5 years. And the prosecution comes back and is like, no, you're counting wrong. It's not 5 years from when they said she was incompetent. It's 5 years from when we charged her with the felony, from when we upped the charges. So the 5 years expires in 2022, not in 2020, like her defense attorney was trying to say. So the judge agreed with the prosecution. If we don't find her competent to stand trial by 2022, then it becomes a civil commitment and it's up to Perkins. Now that I've given you all the facts, let's talk about the theories. So there are essentially 4 theories that we're working with and 2 topics, okay? The first is, Catherine is incompetent. She's just not able to stand trial. She doesn't understand. That's one theory. The other theory is, well, she is mentally ill, but not to the point where she's incompetent to stand trial. She's faking it. She doesn't want to go to jail. She wants to do Zumba and yoga. So that's the topic of her capacities. The other topic is, what is going on with the kids. And there's 2 theories there. Reminds me so much of the Lori Vallow case. Either they're dead or, they're alive somewhere, which honestly, I think they're no longer with us.
Detectives allege that Sunday afternoon, when Catherine told her father she was taking Jacob out for pizza, she instead killed him, then dumped his body. They believe later that night, either while Troy was still at work or after he had gone to sleep, she did the same to Sarah.
I've had my own professional private investigator study the facts, and this isn't part of the written part, but in the beginning they came in with an open mind. After investigating, they came to the same conclusion as the state's attorney's office and the police. I actually hired 2 or 3 of them, kind of like getting a second opinion from a doctor, and they all came back the same.
If she did give them to a stranger, nobody's coming forward, right? Nobody's coming forward, and the kids have not been found. And so, I don't know. I think that one is like pretty much everybody agrees the kids are dead. So I want to talk about the competency part because I do have a theory on that. Hear me out. I think she's faking it and she is competent. Okay, first of all, if she had no idea right from wrong and she didn't understand anything that was going on, okay, why would she have the wherewithal to come up with excuses as to where the kids are? Why, when she went missing, would she cut her hair, right? That's consciousness of guilt, right? Because I know I did something wrong. I'm going to get in trouble for it. I need to run. And then while I'm on the run, I know people are looking for me because they said she had a her missing person flyer in her hand when they found her. So she knew what was going on, and so she cut her hair so that she didn't look like the picture that people were looking for her based off of. You know what I mean? I don't know how to form a sentence. Furthermore, she is aware of the court proceedings. She's saying that she's taking these competency classes. She is having conversations with her lawyer about what's going on. She's getting better, and then she's getting worse when she realizes that getting better is not helping her case, right? She's flat out told her mom that she just doesn't want to go to prison. So she's pretending to be incompetent. I mean, her own mother is saying, no, she's competent. The same mother that was like, no, the kids are fine, they're alive. Like, now the mom's like, no, I'm starting to see what's really going on. Again, my conspiracy, allegedly, don't sue me. If she was truly like that insane, she'd be like, the kids are, I had to get rid of them. You know, like, I don't know. I feel like when people are truly like not competent to stand trial, don't even know right from wrong, they would just say what they did because they wouldn't even realize that it's wrong, right? Kind of reminds me of like the Golden State Killer. You know that case where he like was, you know, pretending to be so feeble and everything, and then they had this footage of him in the jail cell and he was like jumping around, super acrobatic and athletic. Like, a lot of people play this game where they know that, you know, pretending to be touched mentally, you're gonna get softer treatment, right? I would love to know what you guys think about this. Please tell me, do you think Catherine is competent to stand trial? What do you think happened to the kids? What do you think should happen to Catherine? Please let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching and everything that you do. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one. Oh, and I want to show you guys my sweater, my Christmas sweater. I got it from Etsy. Look, 0 stars wasn't an option. For real. 2020, I want my money back. And the little face mask here. Anyway, so thank you guys so much. I think I said that already. Thank you guys.